Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk to Me, deep and intimate conversations with Aristotle. I am so excited. I'm about to let in our first guest in just a moment. Welcome, everybody. He just joined. I want Instagram to know this is my music. Please don't take me down. I am the artist and the writer, and it's copywritten. It's mine. So please don't take this music down. I am going to request Frederick right now. Hi, everyone. Hi.
Hello.
Hey. How are you? You know I'm
I'm
crazy.
I'm good. Hold on. I'm just readjusting myself here. There we go.
Okay. Make sure that I'm good too, because you know that I am not technical, and I am going to be having somebody help me soon. Hold on one second. Get out of there. Okay.
Hello, Heidi.
I am going to be having somebody help me with the technicalities soon, but for now
Okay.
it is me. So make sure that I am good too,
Okay.
Frederick.
I think you look fine. I think you look fine. Heidi just joined. Heidi,
Hi, Heidi. Hi,
give us a
Michelle.
thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up, Heidi or Michelle, if everything looks okay to you guys, because it looks good to me.
Guys, can you hear me? Does everything look okay? Do we sound okay? Give us a thumbs up, Michelle. We're going to wait for that, and then we're going to get started.
Okay.
Thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up. Can you hear us? Can you see us? Do we look fine?
Okay.
I
I
have no
just got I
filters
just
on.
got a thumbs
Thank you,
up.
Kayla. I have no filters on today because the filters always give me grief. So no filters. Everyone, I would like to welcome you all to my very first talk show and podcast, Talk to Me. Deep and intimate conversations with interesting people. And boy, do we have an interesting person with us today. He is actually a long time friend of mine. His name is Mr. Frederick Johnson. Frederick is the host of Frederick Johnson in Conversation, a one-on-one interview show with creatives that streams live on Instagram Sunday afternoons. He was the co-founder and frontman of Soul Purpose, an LA-based rock band popular in the late 90s. He is an avid hiker and food enthusiast. You can catch all of his episodes on Frederick Johnson in Conversation, listen to great music, and enjoy some fun, great food videos, and more. I am going to put a link to his YouTube page on the replay of this interview. And I would like to welcome my dear friend, Frederick Johnson. Hi,
Thank
darling.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's so good to be here. It's so good to see you. You look wonderful as always. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. You too. Well, this is very special for me because, you know, I have been, as you know, we've been friends for many years. And since we were 11 years old, guys, 11 years old.
Okay.
And we'll talk more about that today.
Okay.
But I have, you know, you've been in my life for a very long time. And it's so interesting. When I planned to do this talk show, which was about 3 years ago, as you know, I was talking about it, trying to put it together and everything. And like, I always kind of knew in the back of my mind, if you didn't do the talk show, because we talked about you possibly doing it with me, but if you didn't do it with me, I always had in the back of my mind that you would be my first guest. You didn't know this, but this is something that is true because you have interviewed me countless times in my career. You have been such an avid supporter of me. So loyal, just throughout like so many of my life and my dealings, and you've always been there. I think you've been to probably every show I've ever done, and if you were not there, you were either out of the country or out of town, and that is the truth.
Yeah.
Like, you are as loyal as they come. And I think I want to begin the first question this way because you're a special friend. You're definitely one of my dearest friends, my dearest male friend. And I've known you for so long and so many years. But, you know, when I met you, I did not know that you were rare. I did not know that you were a gem, that you were this loyalty that I wasn't going to experience. You know, you were one of my first friends that I ever had. But I had no idea that as I got out into the world and especially into the entertainment industry, there are not a lot of yous. there are not a lot of yous, darling. There are a lot of haters, jealous people, envious people, people that really don't have your back, really are not for you. And I learned all of that the hard way because I'm none of those things. We can talk further about this, but I'm not a jealous person. Just by nature, I'm not envious. I just do my own thing and I just run my own race, and you can come with me if you want to, or you don't have to. I really don't care. But I realized most people are not like that. And there was a quote that I had posted. It was very profound because it was recent, and it said, you don't always get who you are. You get the people who are in desperate need of who you are. Mm. So I have experienced those haters, non-loyal people, people that really didn't have my best interests. I think because I had to shine a light on them. But that's not how the universe presents it to you at first. You're thinking, oh my God, everybody hates me. The world is against me. You're not seeing it in the way that you have to show your light to them. Yeah. So where does it come from for you in being the kind of person that you are?
Wow. And that's the first question.
That's the first question, darling.
God, that there was so much leading up to the question. Just to make sure I understand it right, you're saying to be the kind of person that I've been to you as a friend, which was something rare in terms of what you've experienced, and especially in the entertainment industry, but even outside of that, the loyalty, you know, where does that come from?
Absolutely, because you're also an entertainer. I met you entertaining. You also sing. But I've never experienced any kind of animosity, jealousy to, you know, from you to me ever, or me to you. Where does that come from, you being that kind of a person?
Yeah, well, I think a couple of things. I think similar to you, I always just was doing my own thing. So I was never trying to be somebody else. I was never competing with somebody else. You know, I always just wrote what I wrote, what I was moved to write about. I was just trying to express myself musically and otherwise, you know, in a way that was representative of me. So it wasn't like I felt like I was competing with anybody to try to do anything in that manner. And I always wanted everybody to just kind of, you know, express themselves the way that they needed to. The exception to that might be, you know, I remember back in the day when, and you'll probably remember this too, you know a lot of people out in the music scene in LA. You know, I mean, you just know a lot of people and you see them at the same clubs. You guys maybe do the same venues, or back in the day when we do different open mic nights places, you kind of see people. And sometimes I would have a feeling of upset, I'd say, you know, when I would see other people getting the record deal or other people getting the opportunities. I was kind of like, how come, like, when is it going to be my turn kind of thing? So sometimes I had a little bit of that, but it wasn't really about a jealousy of what somebody else was doing per se, or it wasn't about me trying to be like them or trying to compete with exactly what they were doing. It was more just me hoping maybe I would get my opportunity as I was seeing other people for whatever reason and whatever the timing was for their situation to get certain opportunities. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And that's very normal. Like I have, you know, many friends, many whom are famous, who are doing way beyond the things that I'm doing. And that's, of course, I say to myself, gosh, I wish I had that deal. I wish I had that contract. I wish I was on Broadway doing that.
But I understand, normal. But I get your deeper question. It's kind of like, how did I come to be that person? And I'll tell you the truth. I think I came to be that person because as a kid, I think I felt before, you know, my sister came 7 years later in my life. I was 7 when my sister came. So I was an only child for a period of time. Yes. And I was always, to be honest, you know, even though I was an extrovert, I guess somebody would define me as that. And I was always talkative and curious and would talk to anybody. I did have a very kind of like isolated kind of experience, I think, in my childhood as well. You know, that feeling of kind of like lonely in a crowded room. Like, absolutely. I think I felt a lot of that. Yes. You know what I mean? As a
Yes.
kid, even though I had, you know, a father that was very gregarious and that was out there and was performing and knew a lot of people and all of that stuff, like inside, I think I felt really isolated and more withdrawn than maybe I realized. And I think that I think because of that, I had a natural sense of like a compassion for, you know, like other people.
Now
You know what I mean?
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what
So
I'm
I
looking
kind of,
for.
and I think that's where it really kind of stems from. So, you know, I've always known a lot of people, like you,
Yeah,
I've always known a lot of people,
absolutely.
but I have to say to make really good, even as a kid, like I'm
Hmm.
talking like elementary school years, adolescent years, like when we met one another, to actually meet people that I felt like felt like I connected with on a certain type of level, that was really rare and few and far between. So I think when I had those experiences, I especially treasured them, and like I maybe was kind of protective over them because I think it was something that was so rare kind of coming across in my life as a kid that I think felt really lonely at
Oh,
times.
that's very beautiful, and
Yeah.
I resonate with that completely and wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at, because what I was trying to say is, like, you know, we know a lot of people, we don't call a lot of people friends,
Yeah.
and you have, as I feel I do, possess a light, and
Yeah.
I wanted to know where that light came from for you, and that makes sense of what you're saying. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So Frederick, I am your genie in a bottle today.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
You have three wishes.
Wow.
What are they?
Wow. Let me not rush this answer, okay? Let me
Take
not
your
rush this
time. Take
answer.
your time.
Okay, Genie in a bottle. This is in no particular order. This is
No.
just what's coming up. Okay.
Let me
This
say really quickly, you guys. This show is unscripted. Frederick has not been given the questions. He has no idea what I am going to ask. Frederick, if at any time it becomes too deep or too emotional or you just don't want to answer, you do not have to. You just
okay.
tell me pass, but this is how we're doing this.
Okay.
So you've never heard this before, go.
Never. But here we go. And
Go.
you know, look, somebody in this audience might be able to satisfy one, two, or three of the things I'm about to say for the Genie in the bottle. So
Well,
this is
there you
probably good.
go. There you go.
Okay, so one, and this is the same thing, but I'm kind of lumping it all in one, but it's all one. So I'm going to say it's romantic love slash companionship slash partnership slash love relationship
Isn't it
slash
so funny how after a certain age we become specific with it?
yeah.
It's like, don't just ask for like the supermodel, because you may very well get that
Yeah.
supermodel and
Yeah.
it may very well not be what you thought you
Right.
wanted.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. That's one thing that life will teach you, is that like you might regret the packaging you asked for. So
So
I've kind
be
of learned,
specific.
right, I'd be specific, but you know what's interesting? It's kind of like a fine line, because I've learned like be specific, but also like I don't want to box myself into something based on like a notion I have. Like you said, like a supermodel thing that
Absolutely.
may not actually really be the right thing for me. Like I don't want to kind of get distracted by an external thing, but I still have to kind of
Absolutely.
be specific. So
Absolutely.
number one, I'm specifically saying kind of, you know, love relationship slash companionship slash romantic relationship slash partnership slash life companion. That's all
Got it.
one.
I got it. Hmm.
Okay, that's all one. Number two is um, oh God, number two. Okay, I'm going to say number two, and again, no, this is all in no particular order, but I'm going to say number two is financial comfort slash security slash you know financial abundance. Let's put
I
it
love
that
the
way.
adjectives. Yes, I
Okay.
got you. Yes, yes. I'm right there with you. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
that's number
yes.
two. And then I would say number three is gosh, genie in a bottle. Okay, this one I want to say more wow, there's so many things, Aristotle. There's so many things. So I would say, oh, here's one. Making a successful living as my expressing myself creatively.
Okay. I got that. I
Okay.
got that.
And
Perfect. I
that
love
could
it.
take on numerous forms because there's different things that I do. So I'm not sure exactly where exactly that kind of lies, but
You're just
you know what I'm
covering the
saying? Because
bases.
covering the bases. It could be music. It could be it could be a format like this. You know,
Yes.
it could be writing. You know, there's a number of different things. So
You're
that's
open to
the,
the universe to surprise you.
you know what? Can I make that a bonus wish? Like, can I just add that in general?
You can. You
Okay.
can.
Okay.
Yes. Perfect. I love it. I love it. Now, mind you, there are no right or wrong answers.
Okay.
This is just you.
Okay.
We're just talking.
Okay.
Frederick, what is the most interesting thing about you?
Oh, gosh. Okay, I have to really think about what I think, not what I think other people think is the most interesting thing about me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. The most. Oh my God.
Don't
Okay,
think about it too much.
does it have
Just
to be
what's
a,
your gut?
okay, my gut says, and this isn't necessarily a physical thing, but I would say my gut is saying, and it's more like an intangible thing, but I would say how I relate to people in the world.
I would agree.
Yeah,
I would
I think
agree.
that's it. I
I would
think that's
agree.
it.
I
Yeah.
love it.
And it's
Yes.
not even, it's to know manufacturing of my own. It's just how I came to the planet. I was just always that person. And like I said, I think it from early life may have stemmed from kind of like how I really felt as a kid. I think like reaching out to people was a way that I think I felt like less lonely in the world. You know what I'm saying? So it was like that was what I was always trying to connect with people. And I don't consciously, of course, I didn't know that, but I was always trying to.
It is innately who you are.
Yeah.
And you know, we're the similar, but we cut, but it comes from a different cloth. Like you can go into any space, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, any room. You could go with the Queen of England. You could go with the thug rappers. You could, and you would be fine. You would talk your way into a dance where the whole room would be captivated. I do the same thing, but in a different way than you. You're very outgoing, and you know you're very, you bring it in with your words and your speech and your. I bring it in with kind of like my aura, but
Yeah.
we have the same thing
Yeah.
going. So
I
that's
think
absolutely
people,
true about you.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. No, I
Yes.
think people would be surprised who they know you kind of externally and how they see you publicly,
Yes.
that like there's a shyness to you that I think people wouldn't think,
Absolutely.
because they think, oh my God, it's Aristotle, because you do with your energy, you don't have to say anything. Like you
Mm-hmm.
come in and like you said, you bring it with your aura and your energy, and you were
Mm-hmm.
that way when I met you
From the
as a
beginning of time.
child. You
Yes.
were that way. You
Yeah.
were that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
Adults, other children,
Yeah.
celebrities. It's
Yeah.
like people were captive, and you didn't even have to open your mouth to do it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't even have to.
But
So
you're very right. I'm very shy. People don't believe
yeah,
that. I'm very shy and introverted.
yeah.
Yes. Okay. If you could travel and meet your 16-year-old self
Oh,
and give him just one sentence, what would that sentence be?
oh, just one.
Just one.
I really want to think about this because 16 was a very hard year for me. I was in 11th grade. Oh, it wasn't great.
Then I
A
picked a good year
highlight
then.
of that year was "Ooh, Heaven Is a Place on Earth" Belinda Carlisle. That was probably like the light of the year.
I love it.
Hold on. I'll tell you.
I love it.
So, oh God. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you, 16. I remember I was kind of. I remember going through an angst period at 16. It was kind of gothy. Like I wore a lot of black every day. Like I basically wore black the lightest color I wore was navy blue. I wore a lot of black. Seriously.
You were in a dark place.
It was kind of like a post-goth, kind of post-new wave something. And so I wore a lot of black, gray, white for contrast a little bit, and then like navy blue. Mm-hmm. And I remember I hung up like really kind of like on my bedroom wall where other teenagers might have like their favorite bands or whatever. Like I had like dark posters on the wall, or even if it was fashion stuff, it was kind of things that were really like emotionally provoking, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I stayed in my room by myself all the time. I don't know what I was doing, like reading whatever poetry or whatever I was doing. Mm-hmm. But there was some kind of angst thing I was going through. And I think if I go back and think about that 16-year-old kid who probably didn't have, I don't even want to say the courage. I almost want to say maybe I didn't even have the wherewithal to know myself enough to be comfortable with myself enough to be whoever I was.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't a conscious thing like, oh, I wish I was more courageous to be myself. Mm-hmm. I don't even think I was that sophisticated. I think that I was really just like trying to kind of, you know, not like I had insecurities, you know. Yes. I had insecurities. So I would probably, if I could go back to that self, and I would tell myself, wow, this is emotional. I would tell myself, and I would hope that I actually would listen to myself. Mm-hmm. I would tell myself, you are enough exactly as you are. Mm. You are enough. Mm-hmm. You don't need to be anybody else. You don't need to be perceived in any other way. You don't need to be thought of or accepted or validated as anything else that you might be judging is better. You exactly as you are enough.
I love that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I would probably say the same thing. Yes, that's gorgeous. Okay. Now, if God was standing in front of you right now, I'm sorry, I'm deep. I'm gonna lighten it up. But I'm pretty deep. But I am gonna lighten the mood in a second. But right now,
no, this is good. This is good.
Woo. If God were standing in front of you right now, what is the first thing that you would ask him?
Am I going to make it out of this alive? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's not just...
I think you know the answer to that. None of us are.
No, let me see. Let me see. If God was standing in front of me right now, what would I ask him? Oh, you know what I would ask? What do you need me to do? That's what I would ask. What do you need me to do?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Okay, so Fred, you know, as a young person, and we're very similar, we have lots of similarities, but as a young person, I grew up in a very religious household. It wasn't, my mother was never strict, neither my father. They were very liberal and open, and they loved for me to perform and do my art. It was embraced, but my mother is very religious. And one of the things that I grew up with is the concept, and maybe you may or may not know this because I know that you had a different situation, because I know that I remember going to your bar mitzvah. So I know that you were Jewish for a while. So you may or may not have had a similar thing, but I definitely did. And I noticed it to be something that happens a lot, like with a lot of people who are religious. And the fact that I was taught that, you know, people are blessed and people, you know, are anointed. And people, like, if you, like, almost if you do a good thing or are a special kind of a person, you'll be blessed. And I think that that's taken on a whole world of its own, because the whole thing now is people will be on hashtag I'm blessed, you know, or almost like I'm favored. I get it all. Almost like I'm favored, almost like I'm better than you. Because I have this spiritual base, or because God knows me. And as I've grown, And as I've learned, and as I've asked questions, and as I've asked God questions, and for truth, and for light, for my own soul, I have a different take on it. I don't know that God sees us as blessed or not. I don't even think I think he sees us all as equal. I think that we all have equal opportunity to be so-called blessed. There's no one special.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell that to like a very, down home religious Christian person. And I wouldn't try to, you do you. And you follow whatever light you are led to. But for me, I have a belief that like, there's really no one special. It's the belief within yourself. Yeah. What is something that you were taught or grew to know as truth as a child that you now know is maybe not true, or you have a different take on it?
And do you mean from a religious teaching?
I mean from anything. It doesn't, I was carrying an example to you of something for me.
Yeah.
For it could be anything.
Yeah, I think, and I don't think anybody taught me, I don't know that somebody taught me this explicitly, like what I'm about to tell you. I don't think anyone said, I want you to know this. And then I ended up finding out that that wasn't true. Mm-hmm. This is just something more, I think I took on as a belief that I later found out wasn't true.
That's great. That's what I want to know.
So, okay. And so this is just the first thing that comes to mind. Something else might kind of surface in the midst, but the first thing that comes to mind is, I would say it's a belief system, and life is to be survived. And I'll tell you, when I was a kid, like 3-4 years old, right? So my father and my mother, my birth mother, not my stepmother who raised me, that
Yes.
There was this horrible violent incident that they had that I witnessed, and it was really like my father kind of taking custody of me and taking me out of the house I was living in, taking me someplace else, like to where I was going to live for the next years, right? I don't even know if I ever told you this story, but
you didn't.
Okay, so let's say I was like 3 years old, 4 years old, but I vividly remember this like it was yesterday. So this was the last time I lived in the same house with my mother. And so there was this incident with my father and my mother that really evolved into something violent because he was trying to remove me from this home. She didn't want me to be removed from this home, but legally he was removing me from this home. And then like I grew up a couple miles from there and spent all the rest of my like elementary school years there. What I learned in that situation, it took me kind of like decades to undo. What I learned there was kind of like, I didn't really trust anybody, because I'm just thinking about the mind of the child. It was kind of like, I didn't feel safe. I felt terrorized, and I felt like something was happening to me that I was completely powerless over. Right. So there was kind of, a really deep-seated distrust I really had of my own family. And I mean immediate family. I mean like my father, my stepmother. So it was kind of like a thing as a kid where it's kind of like, I can't trust these adults because the earliest childhood memories I have were of these people doing things that were not protective of my physical person.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. So what I didn't know, Aristotle, that I really started kind of unpacking, as they now call it, unpacking, like I would say in my late 30s, was that I really went through my whole life up to that point with that kind of deep-seated distrust. And I just thought like
in survival mode.
So that's what I'm saying. So I never really was living. I was surviving. And that's what I mean about there was this kind of this belief system that I didn't know I had when I say life was to be survived, because it was kind of like getting through that situation, then it was getting through this other stuff, and then it was getting out of that house. And I moved out on my own when I was 17 years old, like
Wow.
shortly before I turned 18. So I started supporting myself, you know, very early at a very
Yeah.
young age.
Wow.
And so that one incident, like I really saw how it kind of impacted all of the
Absolutely.
relationships that I had subsequent to that. So it was like people could really only kind of get so close. And then there was the whole thing of, but I really can't really trust.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so because of that, there was a lot of intimacy, and I don't mean romantic intimacy. I just mean intimacy in general with people in any type of relationship that was really kind of lost and missed for many years because there was going to be some impenetrable wall at some point. And then I finally I had an opportunity to really look at that deeply, like I would say in my late 30s. And then I really kind of saw like how, oh my God, all roads that was kind of like the origin story. You know, of the negative, of the thing that wasn't true that I believed to be the truth. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so all roads kind of led back to that. So when I was kind of doing the inner work and the spiritual work that I was doing, and I really saw, oh my God, all of this stuff is tied back to that one thing from 30 whatever years ago, 40 whatever years ago. And so I saw how all roads led back to that. And I began being able to learn that I didn't have to live in that story anymore. You know, kind of when people say that's my story and I'm sticking to it, it's like, I didn't know I was married to that story. And, you know, I kept just kind of replaying that and kind of keeping it alive, you know, through my teens, through my 20s, you know, through various things. And I think I sabotaged a lot of things in my life too, because there was a vulnerability that I just was not going to have. It was too dangerous, you know, in my mind to have it.
Yes.
And it just took me a long time to get to a place where I realized, oh, all that happened was that I believed something that wasn't true, you know, and
yes.
and nothing was wrong with me. That was the other thing, is I think I took on something must be wrong with me. Almost kind of like I assigned myself like a black sheep type of
Absolutely, as people do. Yes.
Right. And so, you know, what I learned was I was just in the proximity of sick people. Like nothing was wrong with me. I just happened to be a child that was in proximity to some people that were sick. That was all. But nothing was wrong with me inherently. And because of that, I just believed some things that just weren't true. And later I was able to have like a deep and profound experience where I was able to no longer believe those things as true.
Isn't it so beautiful that you can choose your life? You don't realize that when you're young. Like you think you're kind of stuck with whatever you got, but you can choose your journey and your beliefs, because your belief system leads to everything. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, I always say your life, and I'm saying my life, your life, everybody's life. Like my life looks like how I think.
Absolutely,
that's what it is. My life looks like how I think on any given day.
Absolutely, that's it right there. Now this question is very deep, and it's not even on paper, but I thought of it. You don't have to answer this, okay? But I'm just forewarning you, okay? But the Spirit led me, so I'm leading you.
Okay.
But you don't have to. You don't have to.
Okay.
What would you say to your mother now if she were here?
Yeah.
Your real mother.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And you said it, to tell you the truth. In part of the work that I had to do to get free of that belief system, it was really that I forgive you and I understand. Like that's what I had to tell her, because I spent a lot of years, like a lot of people who grow up with resentments against a parent that didn't live up to being who they thought they should have been. And, you know, I had a mother that had some issues. You know, I had a mother that had some problems that really, they weren't moral failings on her part. Like these were real issues that she had. And so I just kind of grew up feeling like, so it was always kind of like, had my mother fill in the blank, my life could have been blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm,
had she not, or had she fill in the
excuse.
blank,
Used as an excuse.
used as an
Yes.
excuse, my life could have been. So that was kind of like a blame for a really long time. And what I realized, what was really interesting is that when I got to a place where I thought, you know what, I want to be free, I wasn't going to get free until I passed through a stage of forgiveness with her. And even like more, so to answer your question, it was, I forgive you and I understand. And the thing about it is that even deeper than the forgiveness, here was the thing I really saw is I was just like her. You know,
Mm,
in many ways, you know, I have this
mm-hmm.
friend who would ask me whenever I would be upset about something somebody did, like, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe they did that. And she
Yes.
said, the first question I always ask myself when I'm trying to process it is, have I ever done the thing I'm mad about that I'm accusing them of?
Oh,
Because
wow.
that kind of levels the playing field from the beginning.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
once that person, because when you're like the other I'm mad and resentful at, it's kind of me
Mm-hmm.
versus you. So
Mm-hmm.
if my first question is, when I'm trying to process it all, if my first question is, have I ever done the thing I'm resentful at him at, I'm pissed off about him at, I'm mad about him at, and 99.9% of the time, it's a yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
yes. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of levels me, it kind of levels my ego already, like right there. So I kind of see I'm more alike with this person than I am different. And that actually makes me more compassionate towards that person, and the healing can start. And that's what I saw with my mother, and like the work that I was doing is that, like, one thing I saw that was like very unkind on my part was I used her sickness, like you said, as the excuse. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether I used it to get attention, whether I
Mm-hmm.
used it to make people feel sorry for me, you know, whether I
Mm-hmm.
used it as like a great story at a party, you know, whether
Mm-hmm.
I used it. So there were some things that like had nothing to do with her per se that I was doing that I really needed to look at. And so it was, I forgive you and I understand. And I understand because I actually, there were things in there that I actually was more alike than they were different, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And that's so
Okay.
profound. And thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
us. That you're helping and healing a lot of people right now too.
Oh my God. I hope so. This is helping
Yeah,
me
you
too. I have
totally
to tell you.
are.
I'll tell you.
You totally are. And that's very profound. Frederick, have you experienced yet what you would describe as the best day of your life?
Um, you know, I've had a couple of things I would say are the best day of my life, and one of them actually I would say is probably maybe looked like it was the worst day of my life, to be
Mm.
honest.
Well, that was the next question. So do
Okay,
tell.
yeah. So one of them I would say is probably when I thought my life was probably as like bad as it could get, or as low as it could get, or I had really kind of maybe, you know, kind of maybe like lost everything that was worthwhile. And I would have thought, oh God, I've really done it. This is bad. Like, this is the worst day of my life. It was the best day of my life because it was like the bottom that I needed to hit in order from the ground up to actually start a whole new
Oh,
life.
that's very profound.
And I would have never, I on my own, like, I'm one of those people, you know, I've moved a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people that was always trying to find where's that thing at that's going to be my thing, you know. So I looked in other countries, and I looked in other states, and I looked in other cities, and I was looking for something externally that I thought was going to be satisfactory internally, and all I ever found was some momentary pleasure and gratification that was fleeting. That's all I ever really
Mm.
found. So I kind of just basically, the dissatisfied on the inside person surviving, not living, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
dissatisfied person on the inside, I just kept taking that person with me everywhere I went. And I didn't realize that all that was happening is because my life looks how I think. all that was happening is that I was showing up in New York City, or I was showing up in Paris, and I was showing up. I was like, now like, here I am, see me, love me. I'm going to do all these great things. And I just brought myself with me. And so I would look up and I just kind of thought, well, how come this isn't the answer? And I never really understood. So when I kind of hit my own bottom in my life, where, I was at maybe the lowest point mentally, spiritually, physically, emotionally, I had to get there, and it was a place where I didn't have any more ideas. That's the most important part of the story, is that it was a place that I felt complete hopelessness. Because as long as I had hope with doing my life as the way I was doing it, I always thought that there was a come up. I always thought there was another way. So I always thought, like, there'll be an answer in Chicago. I'll go back to Austin, Texas. I'll go back to Los Angeles. There's going to be an answer. So the best thing that ever happened to me on what really might have looked like my worst day of my life is that I completely ran out of ideas about what I needed to be doing about my life and how I needed to manage it, run it, control it, what to do next, for enough for me to actually, and not knowing what to do, it actually ended up kind of being the best day of my life, because then I actually, in that despair, I was able to say, God, please help me. I don't know what to do anymore. And then a new life started.
I love it. I love that. That's very profound. Wow. That's amazing. That's awesome. I'm going to lighten up the load a little bit, because I've been asking you very deep questions. I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about our times and our moments that we've had, of many since we were 11 years old. We talked about in your talk show how we met in Mitchell Singing Boys Choir at 11, and we kind of traveled the world and met with all these celebrities. That was the beginning of the epoch of our belief as friends. But then the story goes on. So as we got a little bit older, and I didn't know that you were moved out by the time you were, I had no idea you were moved out by the time you were 17. I didn't know that. But I remember when I was like about, maybe I would say 19, you called me and you spoiled me for clubs for the rest of my life. People call me and they're like, because not recently because of COVID, but I mean before that, oh, come hang out with me at this place or that place. I'm just like, la-di-da, whatever. I don't care. Nothing will compare to Club Louie.
Okay.
You told me about this place that we gotta tell the people about.
I want to tell them. I want to tell them.
Wait. Let me set it up. So Club Louie was, and I'm gonna let you'll describe it better than I can, but I mean, what I want to say about it is, at the 19-year-old me with a fake ID, with a long fur coat to the floor, mesh shirt. I was a 28-inch waist, longer hair than I have on now. Walked into the place, and my whole, you spoiled me for the rest of my life. I'll never have as much fun. There will never be as much adventure, much mystery. Okay, describe the place and tell them.
So number one, I just have to say, so we were, obviously you guys now know, we were going to clubs underage. I don't even know how we got, I don't think I had a fake ID. I always had one. Yeah, you had a fake ID. Yes. There was a couple other friends. I'm not going to name them here.
Okay.
They may or may not have had fake IDs, but we were partying young. So we started going out young. So I just want to say, I'm willing to say with authority, Club Louie is probably, as far as house music clubs go, was the best club in Los Angeles that they ever had from that whole era. That was kind of maybe like our version of like Paradise Garage in New York or something like that.
Or Studio 54 even.
That was like our version, because they did. And this place, so I'm going to just tell people, I can set this. It was even, and I'm going to say this on Instagram Live. Maybe I shouldn't. It was better than Catch One.
Yes.
It was better than Catch One. So I'm sorry. And whoever's watching this, and, whoever's going to see this, Catch One will always forever be in our hearts, because that was a pivotal place for many other reasons for us too, as young people in LA.
Yes.
But Okay, so Club Louie was further south. Club Louie was on Washington off of La Brea.
Mm-hmm.
So it was south of Catch One.
Mm-hmm.
And this is way, this is like, you know, two generations before gentrification of this area. So this was an area that at this time, you weren't really kind of hanging out there at night. There was nothing open at night. And it was just on Friday night. And this was a bar. Okay. This was
Mm-hmm.
a bar. On any other day, it was a bar. A hole in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So this
Mm-hmm.
was a hole. And when I say hole in the wall, I mean a hole in the wall bar.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a back room, like a lounge room.
Yes.
And so there was no dance floor. And there was kind of like a back entrance. And I remember one of our friends, who I'm not going to name, I think she kind of knew one of the bodyguards or something. We would see the same security people every week.
Yes.
He would let us in the back.
Yes, he would.
So we
yes,
could avoid the whole front ID situation.
Yes.
He would let us in the back. So we would kind of enter through the back and go through that lounge area. So let me tell you guys, hole in the wall, there was no dance floor. What they did is that they basically, there was little tables and chairs, and they just pushed it all in a corner, and that became a dance floor. So when you go into a bar, wherever the seating was in the room, they just pushed all that into the corner. There wasn't even a proper DJ's area. This DJ was so phenomenal. We followed that DJ because this kind of ended because of the LA riots. So this whole thing ended and went away because of the LA riots, which I think were in 92. So the LA riots kind of just ended it because it just didn't happen anymore after that because of how the neighborhood that particular area was impacted. We followed that DJ to other venues. I think he went to like Gaslight in Hollywood. Eventually he was at a place in Silver Lake for a long time, but we followed him. Don't Show Mama No at Coconut Teasers on Sunset. We followed him. It never was the same. I want
to speed it up a little bit. And
okay,
tell people,
so let me.
It was a sketchy area.
Yeah, it was a sketchy area, but let me tell you who was there. So let me tell you who was there.
Thank you.
These were the regulars. Sandra Bernhardt. Okay. Tukey Smith, who was maybe dating Robert De Niro at the time. This is before. That was the designer Willie Smith's sister, Tukey Smith. I even remember Julia Phillips, who had been a big movie producer, and she wrote a really big scandalous book back then called You'll Never Eat Lunch Again in This Town. I think Ricky Lake might have even shown up there one night or something. Dancers, Madonna, dancers, the Blonde Ambition tour dancers used to go. And this is before they were plucked. Like, so one thing Madonna would do is Madonna would go to these clubs, and this is how she found this is how she found like the kind of like dancers I think that were really appealing to her, because these were just guys dancing in the club. And we looked up, and when Truth or Dare came out and when she went on her Blonde Ambition tour, we were like, oh, that's so and so from the club. These were just the guys that would be there. And Aristotle is not kidding, hair longer than he has now, 28-inch waist, fur down to the ground. He had on a fur. We would go to
Let me tell you, that was the very first time I met Madonna. And I can't tell this story with anybody else because they don't believe me. People don't believe the stuff that I've actually done and been through. But you were with me, so I had this opportunity to actually tell it again. It was the very first time I met her. She stepped on my fur and looked at me like, what? And I was like, okay, this bitch. So yeah, so like, I mean, it was Nikki Harris, who is Madonna's
oh my God,
backup
Nikki
singer.
Harris. Oh,
we used to sing. We had singing matches. The 19-year-old me and her. We used to have singing matches on the dance floor of Sounds of Blackness.
That and also the one that Martha Wash did the vocals for, Black Box.
Yes,
Black Box.
Yes.
You guys remember Black Box? I wanna. What was that song? Where the party at? Yeah, all that. Everybody. Right. Yes. Okay. So what would happen is that Nikki Harris, who later became a huge Madonna, a backup singer for Madonna, she had her own thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a big song produced by like Jelly Bean Benitez or something at that time, right?
Yeah.
So Nikki Harris and Eris, Strike It Up. That's it. Lady Too Cold, Strike It Up. Strike It Up.
Yes, there you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Strike it up. Yes.
Exactly. So Nikki Harris and others, not just the other singers, would be on there like singing along and like just giving you like runs galore. And Aristotle would be on that dance floor and you would be hearing them over the music. over the music in this loud hole, and we danced. I think that place closed at like 4 a.m.
Yes.
We
Yes.
just danced and we sweated and we were young and we could dance all night. I just remember it was $2 beers and I could drink like 10 beers back to back. Like it was $2. Like
it was the best. It was the best time really of my life. And I think I've been trying to find other moments and places that, you know, come close to the way it made me feel.
Yeah.
I felt I was so happy. I was surrounded by, you know, celebrities, and there was crazy stuff there too, but I never did any of that. I stayed with in my own little box. We didn't get into
the crazy, but it was definitely a time of joy. And the thing about that club is that it was about music and dancing. It wasn't,
and we had so much fun.
This was an underground club. This was an underground club. So those celebrities, there was no paparazzi. Like, these were people that were like coming into the hood and going to a little underground after hours spot. Mm-hmm. And so it was just about the music and it was about the dancing, and nobody cared. Like, you know, you saw celebrity whoever, and there's so many more people that I'm not going to even be able to think of because it was so long ago. And some people dropped in. Like, there's some people like there's some people you saw one time. Like, they just came in, like big celebrities, and they kind of checked it out because they maybe heard through the grapevine about some cool underground spot in South LA, and you never saw them again. So, but nobody cared. It was about the music and it was about the dancing. But yeah, it was, I would say. And then people won't believe this, but when that closed, then we went to a place that opened at 4. So I need to let them know that too. Then we drove across town to Hollywood. There was an after hours that opened at 4 a.m. That was underground. Then we would go there. Like, it's a miracle we're alive today to tell these stories. Okay.
You're so funny. I cannot believe we've almost come to an hour, Fred. I have like 6 minutes left. This was amazing. You were an amazing first guest. If you could just very quickly sum and wrap this little conversation, this deep conversation, this fun conversation up with me, how does Frederick Johnson want to be remembered?
You know, I want simply, I want to be remembered as someone that helped somebody at some time, someplace, somewhere, and brought some joy and some love to someone's life. That's it.
Well, you have, because you've done it for me. And I know you've done it for many others before.
Thank you. You've done it for me too.
Frederick Johnson, I wish you love, peace, health, joy, all of those wishes that you gave to me to come true. And in the immortal words of Dolly Parton, I hope that you have all that you ever dreamed of. I love you. You are amazing. And thank you so much for spending this time on my very first talk show.
Thank you for having me. I love you. You are amazing. I am honored to be able to to be your first guest on the start of this new journey. And I wish you many, many episodes, and I wish you a wonderful journey with this show. I love it. This has been beautiful. And now I'm just looking, and now that I too know the surprise format of and the types of questions, I'm looking forward to watching other episodes too, and other guests that you have come on, because this is like, it's been a beautiful conversation. So I'm just so grateful to have been a part of it. And I wish you all of your heart's desires and just continued success in everything that you do. So love you and thank you.
Thank you. And thank you guys. You guys, you can catch more episodes of Talk to Me coming very soon. I'm going to post links to all of Frederick Johnson's social media at the end of this broadcast. We love you. Thank you for your time. Thank you all so much. God bless you. Bye-bye.